Cardboard Wars is part of the Rippin' Podcast Network. Today on Cardboard Wars, explore the rich history of basketball with your hosts Ben Ripping and Kevin Rips. Listen as they dive into the origins of the sport and learn how it evolved into a global cultural force. Discover how innovators like Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Michael Jordan reshaped the game, driving fan engagement and creating the staggering value of some rare sports cards. So sit back and enjoy this episode of Cardboard Wars.
December 1891, outside, it's snowing blankets. We're in the streets of Springfield, Mass. Inside a YMCA gymnasium, because it's heated and warm and we cold, 18 young men are waiting around impatiently. They are students. They're restless, they're aggressive, they're accustomed to physical competition. Football season is over. Baseball is still months away. Boxing has been banned, and winter has them trapped, bored out of their gourd. Standing before them is a 30-year-old phys ed instructor named James Naismith. He has been given an assignment with a deadline. In 14 days, invent a game, not a variation, not a drill, an entirely new sport, one that can be played indoors, one that keeps athletes active, and one that will hopefully minimize some injuries.
What kind of pressure was that? Like, you've got 14 days to invent something. Man, talk about being under the gun. Years later, Naismith would write about that moment with surprising humility. He didn't describe inspiration. He described frustration. He wrote that he simply wanted something that would occupy the students, their attention, and really give them the exercise without risking injuries, without risking broken bones. There was really no vision of greatness, no plan for professional leagues, no thought of TV contracts or global audiences, just a game.
He begins by thinking backwards. He looks at the sports that already exist and asks, hey, why do those sports tend to fail inside? Well, answer one, football is too violent. Rugby encourages way too many collisions. Soccer devolves into kicking matches. Boxing, way too dangerous. I'm taking offense to this one. He says wrestling is too slow. I was a wrestler. So he removes running with the ball. He removes tackling. He removes brute force as the primary path to victory. Then he elevates the goal.
2 peach baskets are nailed to a balcony railing 10 feet above the floor. Soccer balls introduced. 13 handwritten rules are posted on the wall. The students begin to play. It's awkward. It's slow. There's confusion, of course. When someone scores, play stops while a ladder is fetched to retrieve the ball, but then something happens. The students engage. They pass, they move, they think.
There's no applause. There's no announcements. There's no ceremony. Basketball is not declared into existence. It just simply happened. And yet, within a single generation, this quiet experiment will spread faster than any sport before it. Within just 50 years, it will survive economic collapse, racial segregation, rival competing leagues, and with 100 years, it will become a cultural force that shapes fashion, music, language, and identity.
This is not just the history of a game. This is the history of adaptation because basketball survives every era, not by resisting change, but by embracing it.
Do you know what else this is, everyone? This is Cardboard Wars. I am Ben Ripping, joined here with my co-host, Kevin Rips. We make podcasts along with our other co-hosts, Bob and Jake, about sports, the players that star in those sports, and the cards that we collect and that honor those players. Today, we're going to jump in to the history of basketball because basketball spreads almost immediately. YMCA instructors carry it from city to city like traveling teachers. Colleges adopt it because it requires little equipment and it fits neatly into their gymnasiums. Women start playing it early. In fact, just a couple years after basketball was created, the first female game was played. Military units started playing it overseas as well. And by the early 1900s, basketball is being played across Europe, Asia, and of course, the United States.
What surprises historians is not that basketball spreads quickly, it's how quickly that game mutated. Like in rural gyms, the game is methodical. In urban centers, it's more frantic. In cities, the court's actually smaller, the walls are closer, and creativity became essential in those games. One early writer observed that basketball, quote, rewards anticipation more than strength. That observation becomes prophetic.
Professional basketball arrives quickly, but it arrives also unstable. Small leagues form and collapse. Teams appear and vanish within seasons. There's no central authority, no standardized rules, no marketing engine. Baseball is owning the summer. Football begins to dominate the entire fall. Basketball is viewed as just a recreational game, secondary, basically a gym class diversion.
But the seeds are already planted. Basketball thrives in cities, it thrives indoors, it thrives in tight spaces, and most importantly, it thrives where people live close together. That will matter later.
The Great Depression devastated professional basketball. Teams couldn't survive on ticket sales alone. Players are paid per game if they're paid at all. Leagues started to dissolve completely without notice.
By the mid 1940s, arena owners, they see opportunity. They've got these buildings, they've got empty nights. They start to think basketball could fill them. And so in 1946, they form the Basketball Association of America. This is not like a passion project. This is, for them, this is a business decision.
This is business, Kevin. This is business, everybody. This is real business. This is 3 years later, the BAA merges with the National Basketball League. Bigger business. The result is the NBA, the National Basketball Association. But the product is still a little bit flawed. Games are kind of slow. Physical play is still kind of dominating. Teams hold the ball to protect their leads. Final scores routinely end in the 60s, and we're getting bored, everyone, bored.
Speaking of bored, one columnist wrote that basketball is a quote, it's a game with potential for excitement, strangled by its own conservatism. Attendance, as you could guess, it stagnates. Television, of course, just totally ignored the sport. The NBA existed, but man, it was fragile.
In the 1950s, the NBA integrates. Black players officially enter the league, and they bring speed, they're improving, athleticism that fundamentally changes the visual language of the game. The league becomes faster immediately.
Yeah, but pace alone isn't enough, right? Teams still stall. Coaches exploit the lack of what we now have called as a shot clock. They just pass endlessly. It's like they could just refuse to shoot. And you can imagine that bored fans. So you'd have fans actually booing.
There's a NBA team, the Syracuse Nationals, owner named Danny. He calculates that fans enjoy about 60 shots per game. He divides 48 minutes by 60 shots, and the result is 24 seconds.
So the shot clock debuts in 1954. As you could guess, scoring jumps immediately. The pace of the game accelerated. Basketball becomes continuous instead of stagnant. One executive later said that the shot clock did not save basketball, it resurrected basketball. And for the first time, basketball felt modern.
NBA is not out of its challenges. In fact, it's facing its greatest challenge, which is the American Basketball Association.
The ABA, the American Basketball Association, it's bold, where the NBA is cautious. It introduces the three-point line. It markets individuality. It embraces flair. And most importantly, it sells its players as stars. Ben, this is reminding me so much of our episode on football and the AFL, right? And the merging of what we now have is the NFL. Two leagues that had these different styles that came together finally and made an awesome product.
And star players like Joe Namath, that actually made the game exciting enough that it could take off. But in basketball, Kevin, these are the OGs. These are Irving, George Gervin, players who like literally fly, players that made the game exciting, players who redefine what basketball looks like. The NBA dismisses ABA publicly. Privately, though, it's sitting back and it's worrying.
Yeah, by 1976, which is really close to the best year in history. It's just 2 years off, by the way.
Amen.
Right? By 76, survival requires compromise. The leagues actually finally merged. The NBA absorbs the ABA's best players and quietly, and probably more importantly, took its best ideas. And the modern aesthetic of basketball as we know it is born here.
By the late 70s, of course, the NBA is in trouble again. There are drug scandals which are damaging the image. Television ratings are collapsing. The finals are tape delayed. The league just kind of feels irrelevant until somebody important shows up, Kevin. And somebody's, if we had to put it, somebody's plural.
Yeah, two pretty important fellas in the history of basketball. And those guys are Magic Johnson and Larry Bird.
Perhaps we've never seen a final game with two greater individual players than Larry Bird, the Player of the Year from Indiana State, and the Magic Man from East Lansing, Irvin Johnson.
Luckily, through college and into the NBA, the rivalry really transcended basketball. and it became cultural. It was like urban versus rural, flash versus discipline. And of course, television and America just embraced that story.
Yeah. What basketball figured out is that stars are the engine. The NBA begins to start selling personalities, not just teams. And when I think about that, Kevin, we all need a couple players to hate and a couple players to love. We need some teams that are our arch nemesis, and we need some teams that we love, because that kind of makes the whole idea of watching and collecting and participating in these sports fun, because I can talk crap about your favorite player and you can talk crap about my favorite player. And that's how guys basically show love and friendship anyway. We all know that. Michael Jordan was that next person. When he arrived in the mid-'80s, everything changed because he was a relentless player. He was dominant, and the way he handled the ball and the way he dunked, Kevin, it was made for the movies.
Michael, get it pulled to the fresh shot clock. MJ. Oh, he did it! And Michael shakes the finger. Jordan. Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan.
They'll calm you down. They'll work their plays. Steal. He kept it in bounds. Here it is again. Oh, yes! Whose game is it? It's Michael Jordan's game.
Consistently game in and game out, but against the Bulls he does. Here's Jordan, he blows by Pearson, jammed it down. He blew by
Jordan out front, pressured by Dennis Johnson. Michael in the drive, in from the right. Hesitation move, to the hoop for the right. Scoop shot, good on the reverse.
Michael!
Jordan didn't just come in and like be great, win championships. He was so great. He created mythology. Like shoes start to become identity. Commercials became culture. This really brought the NBA to a global stage. One executive later said that Jordan didn't grow the NBA, he transformed the NBA.
The modern NBA embraces this change again, and data and analytics start reshaping offense. The three-point shot starts dominating in strategy. Spacing becomes uber important, almost a philosophy.
Yeah, and the bigger shift, even bigger shift, I should say, is power, because players have become brands. Free agency for the players became leverage. Social media bypasses traditional media. Basketball becomes the most culturally influential sport on the planet.
And it is filled with our favorite players in modern times and a little bit older times when we were growing up, Kevin, and then all the way back to the history of people that we heard about that were playing that maybe we never got to see live. Today, our collections are filled with players that are just starting to change the game, like Victor Wembanyama, or players that could change the game, like Con Knipple or Cooper Flagg, or from the women's side, Caitlin Clark or Paige Beckers or Angel Reese. The list goes on and on. But what makes these players, in my opinion, really valuable, Kevin, is the team that they belong to. Because without a team, all these individuals just fighting to be the stars, it wouldn't be the same thing. We need actually teams to believe in. So we did a little bit of research and we figured out what are some of the most valuable NBA teams in modern times. And I'm going to go down and pick the 10th most valuable, Kev. Let's talk about Canada's only NBA team. They have a national fan base. They get massive media footprint, valued at $3.4 billion, the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah. It's funny, until we looked these numbers up, I wouldn't even have guessed that they were in the top 10. But that's a big number, though. I don't care what number that is. Number 9, Ben, as of the time of the research anyways, we got the Dallas Mavericks. Estimated worth of the team somewhere around $3.5 billion. It's hard to believe we just throw around numbers that start with a B. Of course, while Mark Cuban is not the controlling owner anymore, it was really his brand building, his tech forward operations, his ability to make his guys stars. Luka, who's obviously luckily no longer a Maverick and part of my favorite team, the Lakers. You think of him and his global stardom, but also before him, Dirk Nowitzki. Like, Dallas has done a great job at marketing their stars. It's no wonder they're worth the amount of money they're worth.
And now Cooper Flagg, the most hunted rookie in the 2025-26 sports cards for basketball, as Topps regains the official license of the NBA and Topps starts making licensed NBA sports cards for the first time in 15 years. People are hunting Cooper Flagg's and Dylan Harper's and Derek Queen, and also some of the veteran players in those sets, the Lukas and the Currys and the LeBrons and the Wembys and so on. But let's take a look at another team. A bunch of our fans I know are located in Miami, and we've received, or we've had over 2 million individual listens of the Cardboard Wars podcast on YouTube and Apple and Spotify and Google. So thank you. Miami Heat, valued at $3.6 billion. They have good management. They're in South Florida. They get a lot of international appeal. They're getting some decent rookies. Pretty cool team, but the list keeps getting better.
Yeah, right after them, it's kind of funny. I hate to use this term, but I'm going to use it. It's the only one that comes to mind. The stepchildren of Los Angeles, the Clippers, estimated value at like $3.8 billion. Steve Ballmer, who bought that team in, I forget exactly what year it was. It wasn't truthfully that long ago in sports terms, but they just got the Intuit Dome launched. And that market in LA has got enough room for two teams, and the Clippers have definitely taken advantage of that.
LA, just to be clear, does not need a second team. They need to send one of those teams up to Seattle so that we can get our Sonics back, so Seattle can get their groove back in basketball after we lost it to Oklahoma.
Well, I mean, Ballmer should do that. He's the guy. He did work for Microsoft. He was the number 2 guy there. He might as well move back to Seattle and take the Clippers with him, because we certainly don't need him in LA.
Here's another team I can't afford. The Brooklyn Nets, valued at $3.9 billion, playing in Barclays Center, New York, kind of market coverage, strong global ownership, global interests, kind of elevates this value. But you aren't going to get into the $4 billion value until you head up to where, Kev?
Yeah, one of the most storied franchises. Some might argue the most storied, the Boston Celtics, estimated value at $4 billion. To be fair, that they are the winningest franchise. They've won the most championships of all for now. I mean, I happen to think a certain team, the other LA team, is going to pass them up sooner or later, but Boston Celtics in at number 5 at $4 billion plus.
Right above that, $4.1 billion. We're talking about Chicago, and specifically the Bulls. Michael Jordan's legacy. He's still driving global merchandise sales for the Bulls, and he hasn't played in how many years, right? International brand. The Bulls, no offense, Chicago, but you know it because of Jordan.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Jordan, think about it this way, Ben. Jordan himself has owned 2 different NBA franchises, and yet he's still the reason the Bulls are as popular as they are. That's a pretty amazing legacy, and the Bulls have done a good job, making that pay off. Right above them, this is estimated valuation. There was actually a sale recently that said it's more than this, but the estimates on the Lakers valuation came in at $6.6 billion. They actually sold recently at a $10 billion valuation. A lot of people think that the owner overpaid for that. That said, that's just a legacy brand, whether, I don't know, 6 billion, 7 billion, 10 billion, it's all the same, right? At a certain point, that brand powered by star players, just global fandom, and that pull of Hollywood influence.
Coming in second, depending on how you look at the data, $7.5 billion for another New York team, the Knicks, playing in Madison Square Garden, right in Manhattan. Pretty great team, fun to watch. But the top valued team, not including the most recent sale from the Lakers, is one of the greatest shooters, I think, of all time. I don't know what your opinion is, Kevin.
Oh, he's up there. I mean, Golden State Warriors, their estimated values, it was over 8 billion, 8.2 billion. Man, that's such a massive number. And, when you look at what this Curry era has brought to them and to that franchise and their global reach, the amount of fans that they have. And, I agree. He's simply one of the best ever.
Now, if you don't quite have that many billions, but you still want to own a team, you could pick up the Memphis Grizzlies for $1.6 billion if somebody would sell a kind of a estimated value, or the New Orleans Pelicans for $1.65 billion. Just if you have a couple billion sitting around and you want to go get a deal. Now, this podcast, we talk a lot about sports cards. And when you're thinking about high valued sports cards, like crazy high valued, I think it's kind of fun to talk about some of these. Kevin and I will pick a couple sales. We're not going to necessarily go in order, but I'll talk about one. 2018 National Treasures, Luka rookie NBA logo man patch autograph, 1 of 1 in a BGS 9, sold November 17th, 2022 for $3.1 million.
That is a massive number. I'm going to go ahead and pick one of my favorites because it's got my favorite and who I believe are the first and second best players of all time. The 2003 Upper Deck Exquisite Collection dual logo man, all NBA Access Pass patches, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. I say only, doesn't matter when it's a 101, but only graded at a PSA 6, sold, actually been very recently, December 19th of 2025 for $3.1 million. Not too shabby.
Whoa. Let's go for a little bit, I'd say a well-known, top player, but not Jordan or Kobe. Giannis, 2013 National Treasures. It's the horizontal version, his RPA, 1 of 1 signed logo man, sold in 2020 for $1.8 million.
That's a really big number. I'm gonna go back to another dual logo man auto. Again, 2006, 2007 Exquisite Collection. This time it's Michael Jordan and LeBron. Again, dual logo man, 101. $10 million, Ben. That's a lot of money for a card.
That's crazy. Let's take a look at what Victor Wembanyama's top sale would be. And you might know this, you might not, but what's your guess?
Top Victor Wembanyama sale. I'm going to say, I'm going to guess on the dollars at 125,000. Am I even in the ballpark?
You're not.
No.
You're not, because his 23-24 Panini Prism Nebula, which is one of Prism's 101 cards, in a PSA 9, sold February 2025 for $860,000. His 2023 National Treasures, unsigned because Wemby has a exclusive contract with Topps, so he can't sign Panini products, sold for $528,000, while his FOTL, first off the line, Panini Prism 23 Black Shimmer 101, sold for $516,000. Crazy?
Those are some big numbers, my man, especially for a guy. I mean, Victor Wembanyama, the guy's a game changer, but it's still so early in his career. That's a wild number. Those are all wild numbers there.
You want to talk about early in their career, Kevin? Cooper Flag. Topps Chrome, been out only a couple months. Silver Pack, Superfractor, 1 of 1, sold December 18th for $180,000.
Holy
His
moly.
second 1 of 1, which came from Topps flagship product, the product that came out right before Chrome, the Foil Fractor, $158,639. And even his college card, get this, his 24-25 Bowman Chrome U autograph Superfractor 1 of 1 at a PSA 9, $97,000.
I'm speechless, Ben. Those are some massive numbers.
Here's the thing. The most valuable card in basketball hasn't been printed yet. For those of you in the hobby, and for my friends out there like Val, who opened up a single pack and got a Caitlin Clark 101 that sold for multiple 6 figures, or any of these other amazing humans out there that I've met that bought a blaster or bought a single pack or bought into a break or opens a whole bunch of boxes, and you run across one of these rare cards, I'm telling you, for the right player, you're going to regret selling that one. In 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years, that card might just be life selling. Remember, as I like to say, the secret to being poor is to sell things that go up in value over time. We are collectors. We don't care always about the value of a card. We like to share the values because it's interesting and fun to talk about. But for me, I've never sold a card. I'm a true collector, just like Kevin. This is Cardboard Wars. We're talking today about the history of the NBA and basketball, some of our favorite teams and what they're worth, and some of the biggest cards to ever sell. I hope this podcast was awesome for you. Share it with a friend. Give us some comments on YouTube. Give us a rating on Apple. And if you do me a favor, you go into YouTube and you make some comments, I'll send some of our Cardboard Wars custom swag out to a couple of you. Appreciate you all. Kevin, thanks for doing this one with me.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to Cardboard Wars on the Rippin' Podcast Network. Don't forget to leave a rating and review and check out rippin.com to get connected to what we have coming up. Find us on Instagram and let us know what you would like to hear about on a future episode of Cardboard Wars. Until next time, keep rippin'.